Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It is me, Rich, and I am here with another celebratory podcast. Basically, we're going to win the league, Kev. We're going to win the league. Oh, you're on mute.
Here we are, we're back.
There you are.
I was just having a moment to think about how great we are. No, I said it to you. I said it to you the other day, didn't I, in the chat? I said next season we're going to get 114 points. For those who can't do maths, that's winning every game. We're going to win the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, and the Champions League because we're going to qualify for it this season. I think the women are going to win the double, so that's good. I think the tea lady, I think she's going to win bingo every single night when she goes on a Friday. And I think the kit man's going to win his bowls tournament. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you shake your head sometimes, and I know you've got loads of stats, records. I mean, records seem to be being broken every single week at the minute.
It's great to see the next one that goes around on Twitter. It's great to see the next one. Like, do you realise it's been 30 years since Villa did X, or whether it's the Premier League manager's reign beginning with now 20 goals, 20 games in a row where the team has scored, whether it's, the last time we won 5 home games in a row, was it 1990? 98. And 5 clean sheets as well during that process. Whether it's the last time a Villa player scored in all the games that Watkins has scored, etc., etc., etc. It's just, there's just stat after stat, and we joke about Emery slaying different dragons, don't we? The next one for me is, don't want to do the Man United preview too quickly, but is, when was the last time we won back-to-back games at Old Trafford? When was the last time we did a double over, I say double over any team, I'm sure we did it over Norwich, whatever, recent seasons, but a double over Man United. When was the last time all that happened? And interesting.
Honestly, well, we're obviously celebrating our latest victory, which was last night at time of this podcast. One hard fought 1-0 victory, which takes us into 5th place in the table. Before we get into the game, please do hit that like button. Please do subscribe to the channel. We are growing at a rapid rate, nearly at 1400. So please hit that subscribe button and comment on anything that you see in this video. But yeah, fantastic. Right, let's get into it. First of all, Kev, like I said there, hard fought 1-0 victory takes us into 5th. Yes, I'll repeat that, 5th in the league.
Well, I mean, wowzers. I think we were 15th when Emery took over, probably by virtue of that 4-0 spanking we gave Brentford, and then the 4-0 spanking we got from Newcastle. So there was those 2 games, weren't there, before he officially took over. One where he wasn't announced, I think, under Aaron Danks, and then the one when Aaron Danks obviously took us to St James's Park, but Emery was waiting to begin his job. So, from when Gerrard left, being joint 18th in the league, to 15th, but still really in danger of relegation, to being 11th for what was it, 11 games? 11 games. I saw something the other day saying we were like 1 point behind Chelsea when we played them. And now they're on 39 and we're on 54.
Yeah, is that 15 points?
15 points difference. For us to go 5th in the league, I know there's games in hand, schmames in hand, is what I'm saying, right? We're ahead of Spurs.
Is that the new saying?
New saying from me, yeah. Spurs, Liverpool, Brighton, Fulham, thinking about the media. What a season Fulham have had. What a season Brentford have had. What teams? Marcos, Silva, Thomas Frank. Well, we're 9 points ahead of Fulham and we're 10 points ahead of Brentford. So stick that in your pipe and smoke it. And it might all crumble, and I don't want to get too carried away. That kind of jibe there for me was more around the credit we've not received. Admittedly, we're getting a bit more credit later, of course, but the narrative of how great these teams were doing when we were like a win behind them. And look at us now, 5th in the league. And I said this the other day, and I'm going to say it again, Richard. Right, I'm going to say it again. We'll talk about the timeless of the squad, and we'll talk about the task and all the teams. If Man United don't beat Spurs, right, so whether there's a Spurs win or a draw, and we beat Man United, we'll be either 2 or 3 points behind them in 4th spot. You've got a dream. I mean, it's unlikely, and 7th is more realistic based on all the stats that I've seen, and 6th and 5th. But crazier things have happened.
Got to go for it, because if you don't go for it, then you'll end up finishing 8th or whatever. If we go for finishing 4th, then at least if we finish 6th or 7th, we've achieved more than what the objective was.
Absolutely. And it's game by game, isn't it? It's game by game. And we looked at last night's game and thought, possible banana skin, but we should win. It should have been more comfortable than it was. But, I mean, Arsenal made the name for themselves in the 80s and early 90s of 1-0 to the Arsenal. And I'd say a lot of Villa's battling wins, actually. If you think about some of the wins we've had this season, particularly away wins, 2-0 at Chelsea, 2-0 at
Everton,
Spurs, 2-0 at Everton, 2-0 at home against Forest. You know, I know there was a 1-0
1-0 Palace. Yeah.
There was a 2-1 away at Brighton.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like we've had that many 1-0 wins. It really, we scored a couple in a lot of those wins. Obviously 3 against Bournemouth, 4 against Newcastle. So for Villa to do a 1-0 win, when actually the players probably are a bit fatigued. You know, I said this the other day, like one of our kryptonite is the squad size with the injuries that we've got. So, but look, you know, stats-wise on the game, Fulham had 1 shot and 0 on target.
Yeah.
So if there was ever going to be a night when you were going to, you know, maybe not have to give it everything you've got. And look, there were slight little groans in the crowd when, you know, when Fulham weren't pressing us and we weren't going forward quickly enough. And I was looking around thinking, we're currently 5th in the league, and
we're winning. We're winning. It's not on us. It's not on us to. At this stage in the season, right, it's about wins. It doesn't matter how they come, by hook or by crook, it's about wins. If you're going for something in the table, it's about wins.
Yeah.
If we were like 10th or 11th, where we were like for 11 games, as you said, then yeah, we could maybe play with a bit more freedom, put some of the young players on. But, you know, when it's about winning, when you're playing for something, it's about wins. It doesn't matter how it happens. So, you know, we scored that goal. We're 1-0 up. It's on the opposition for them to come out and press us, and then we try and capitalize on that.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And if you think about the big game, obviously tonight, the whatever point this pod goes out, but the Man City Arsenal game, if Man City have 80% possession, 25 shots to Arsenal's 3, and Arsenal win 1-0, no one will care. And the Arsenal side, and even the Man City side, but we played better momentum than us. It's 3 points. It's all that matters. It's all that matters. And of course, over a period of time, you need style over results. Of course you do. Well, to a degree, you need to be doing that. It's just for Villa now. I mean, what's that again? That's now. So it's 10 unbeaten, right? Only 2 goals in open play conceded in 3 in total in that entire timescale. I mean, wow.
Yeah, well, you know, obviously we'll come on to him now, because we talk about Watkins and how brilliant he's been, and some of the, you know, and Traore coming in and scoring some vital goals, Buendia, you know, creating more chances. But this run has come on the bedrock of defending and being a unit. And you look at that spine, not the spine. So you look at that triangle at the back of Mings, Konsa, and Martinez. And I'll talk Mings first, because obviously he also contributed with the goal last night, which is fantastic. But those 3 have just been phenomenal. And yeah, we're going to feature all of them, but just talk a little bit on Tyrone Mings.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that at times, obviously, you could be giving plaudits to throughout the season. Ashley Young, you know, Louise, I think it's been tremendous. Watkins has clearly been superb since the World Cup. There's been loads of really good performances. Moreno, you know, Ramsey lately. But he's got to be up there for a shout for player of the season. I mean, and I know, you know, I'm not always right, but I did call it our pre-season pod.
I think this is like every other pod episode you mentioned that.
I've got to mention it, mate. I've got to mention it because some of us thought he was going to get sold under the previous manager. He was out of the team. He didn't start the first game. You know, bear in mind he'd been in England like fair squad regular. And yeah, you know, there's still the sense that sometimes he might be a bit cash, and I've been mistaken him. He is, for me, the best defender in the league, at least alongside Lewis Dunk, maybe right now. He's been tremendous.
Yeah, I don't even see the mistake. Like, I hate saying that, I hate doing that, but I don't even see the mistake anymore. Like, some of the passing yesterday in that first half, particularly, just outside of the foot, splitting passes to straight into the path of Moreno. And this is what we talked about last season. Remember when we went to the Palace game, we were saying like the centre backs, the way that teams want to play now is the centre backs have to be able to spot passes and have to be able to pass the ball quickly. Not like quickly as in like hitting the ball faster, but quickly in terms of their thinking. And Mings is doing it, and Conte's getting much better at it. But Mings at the moment is just, it's like the quarterback passes, like striding through with the ball, nipping in front of the striker to get ahead, to get a touch on the ball. All that is just as an indicator the coaching is receiving, but also the options that he's getting on the ball. Because if you can see the picture in front of you, then you can play it, and that's what's so important. And still, I was listening to Talk Sport on the way back, and I think a Villa fan rang in, and he talked about Ming saying, you know, he should be getting considered for England. He's one of the best centre backs in the country at the moment, and they were still like, oh, I'm not sure. He's got a mistake in him. He's got a rick in him. But honestly, you tell me a centre back who hasn't got a mistake in him.
Yeah, it's a really valid point. John Stones had it throughout his career, hasn't he? And he's got it. He seems to be obviously more consistent lately. Clearly, Maguire, you know, Eric Dyer, a lot of these players that have played. I'm talked about England centre halves there in recent seasons. You know, so it's absolutely true. I think the one thing is that, you know, has it been long enough period of time for that to get out of people's memories? I think that's the one thing is. I still think sometimes people feel that's going to happen and I got a bit worried actually last night when I saw Dan James starting up front, because the last time Dan James played at Villa Park, I don't know if he was wearing a white shirt that night, but you know
he was white of Leeds or maybe blue of Leeds. I can't remember, but yeah. Mings missed a header and he got beaten. Yeah.
So maybe I've got that kind of recency bias,
but look, 90% of goals are scored from someone making a mistake. Like that's how goals are scored. You know, Mings scored today, the last night, because someone didn't mark him properly.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just the way it is. I honestly think it's because he's got a bit of a language style. He chews gum or whatever, and he's got dreadlocks. That's literally the only reason I can think of why people say he's crap. I don't understand why. You've listed like 5 centre backs there that have been known to make mistakes, but there's 40 centre backs in the Premier League that will have made a mistake at some point this season, because that's what happens when they make a mistake. It generally leads to a shot, or which would then be a goal. So look, in my sense, he 100% deserves to be put back in the England squad, especially if you're picking people like Harry Maguire.
Yeah, he's just been tremendous, hasn't he? He's been a real leader without obviously having the captain's armband. He's a talker. I think him being in the team, again, we talked about this, didn't we? There's a Villa fan base going back, 6-9 months. Is it going to be Carlos? Oh, I'd have Carlos and Collins, are people saying, and Chambers deserves a chance. Chambers has done pretty well when he's come in, and Carlos has got all the potential in the world if he can get back to the injury. But that first defender in that team for me, no matter what happens, has to be Tyrone Mings. I think he's that important to the team when he plays.
Yeah, and then again, just adding to that balance, Ezri Konsa, quiet, goes about his business. Someone else who might be able to claim it, an England squad position. Maybe he's a little bit more sort of silky in his style than Tyrone Mings. But again, don't mistake it for being any less solid, because he does know how to put himself about as well.
Yeah, I think again his form has been tremendous since Christmas. He's alongside obviously Tyrone, his centre back partner. He's been absolutely solid. There's always stats about isn't there for Ezri, but dribble past the least. And I don't know what the context of those stats is. What is it? Does it have to be going past them like through on goal? Is it just
I don't know. I don't know how they work it.
But
yeah,
that as a partnership, I think we said this in the last part. Other than maybe the Brighton centre halves, they're as good as anyone. Other than maybe the Brentford centre halves, they're as good as anyone in the league.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few good ones. Like I was going to ask you that question. You've obviously got Botman and Shah, who were bigged up before we played Newcastle. You've got me and Pinnock, but they sometimes play a 3, don't they? They sometimes. I'm not sure if they're always a 4 at the back, Brentford, and then you've got Dunk and Webster. and it's difficult for some of the real top teams because they change them around quite a bit. But would you have Mings and Konsa as at present moment the best centre half partnership in the league?
Well, I think all the ones we've named, I didn't mention Shah and Botman actually. Absolutely give them credit, particularly Shah from where he came from. In bad eras of Newcastle, not like it is now, is come through well. Probably similar to Mings actually, Villa. I don't think you'd be easily able to pick one over the other. I think they're as good as any of those, and that says a huge amount for me.
Yeah. I think that was a well structured answer. To be fair, Kev. And then also just completing that sort of triangle, and it was so great to have him back in goal yesterday. Mr. Martinez, and again, just gives us that solidity at the back. He had gold. My dad had noticed he had gold sprinklings in his gloves. So whether they're like special World Cup winner edition or world #1 goalkeeper editions or whatever, but he's really carrying himself as a true leader at the back at the minute.
He's great, isn't he? He's just great. And it's good to see. We've touched on this a little bit lately, but how he's got used to Emery's style, what he wants him to play, much better with the ball at his feet. I think it actually plays into his demeanour as well. That whole sense of the opposition waiting for us to do something and then maybe getting a bit annoyed, and he'll happily be a what house all day long, won't he? Because that's just his demeanour.
That's what he loves. Yeah.
There's a really interesting interview actually he's done with Ian Wright, and I think it might be Paulo Dybala's girlfriend or wife. I think she's does music, but it's a really interesting interview going around. It's been doing the rounds on social media, and it's just great. And he talks quite clearly in the interview about how he wants to induce anxiety and create chaos. So even if he's arguing about who's going to take the penalty or jumping down the spot, people are like, that's not good, whatever. It's making people second guess and making them think. And I'm just glad he's ours. Because he's great, isn't he? He's great, and it's the difference when he's not in goal again, like when Mings doesn't play. He's so stark. So fingers crossed he stays illness free for the rest of the season.
Yeah, stays away from that dodgy doner kebab or whatever he had the other day.
He got it off his son apparently, so maybe he needs to stay away from his kids.
Yeah. Just wrap him up in a room, for the next 4 weeks. But no, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. And look, again, as I say, it's built on that defense. 3 goals, as you said, Kevin, in 10 games, one of them being a penalty. It's as a striker now or a midfielder that if you score 1 goal in the game, you're going to win it, and that's where it comes. And a little bit on the another side of the goal, score from a set piece, score early, and it was direct from a set piece as well. Centre back scoring. We've given him so much stick on this podcast, but not this guy here, but this guy here, Mr. McPhee. Credit where credit's due, mate. We've been great on defensive set pieces of late, and we've been threatening to score goals off set pieces because the variety's been good. Yesterday they went much more direct, and it paid off.
Well, we did actually score a goal off a set piece against Bournemouth, wasn't it? Because it was a flick on from.
Yes.
Buendia, then Mings flicked it on, didn't he? And then Buendia scored it. So there's a couple from there. Obviously, there's the Watkins header against Southampton, which was a free kick bent in. So there's been a few more of those. It was after a period of sustained pressure, and it felt a little bit like obviously Man City have been doing probably better than anyone else in the league. They did it against us. Obviously, they did it the other day, didn't they, as well? They get themselves 3-0 up, and then obviously Leicester was a bit hairy at the end, and Villa was a bit hairy at the end for them as well. But once you're 3-0 up, then you've put all your work into a short period of time, and it's easy street. Well, Villa didn't quite get 3-0 up. It should have been, but because Fulham offered so little, 1-0 was enough. And I think we were really, really good first half. Sustained pressure, crowd was up. That was the 3rd consecutive corner we'd had. And then, it was like that, we were knocking on the door. And finally, great corner, whipped in, great flick header, just a lovely goal from a set piece. And it's good to score. Emery said this himself. You obviously want your strikers to score, your midfielders to score. We're expecting Watkins, Ramsey, Buendia, etc. Traore to do his bit. But you need your rest of the team to step up. It's been a bit of time since I've had a random bet on Mings at 40-1 to score because it all seems a waste of time. But I should have had a little quid last night, shouldn't I?
You should have done, mate. You should have done. You should have done. I'll come to the big man, the manager later. But one slight concern, and he did touch on it a little bit earlier, is the options off the bench, and it was quite evident that the players were getting a little bit jaded towards the end of the game, and he made 3 subs in total, but one was, Chambers right at the end, like 5 minutes to go. It's still that nagging feeling that the lack of options on the bench is going to potentially come to bite us unless we get these players back. Because, as I said, Moreno looked like he took a little bit of a knock. Ashley Young, took a bit of a knock as well, and that midfield, it's a lot of work. Buendia was getting a bit tetchy, a little bit more than usual, kind of arguing with Watkins. Is that going to start to rear its head a little bit? That sort of tired, jaded nature.
Maybe, yeah. I think that we are. We're running on fumes at the moment, aren't we? A little bit, and we do need some of these players back. You've got a few options. If you've got a defensive injury, you've clearly got Chambers to go into one of the central positions. You've got Digne, who I think has done actually quite well lately when he's come in from Moreno, and you've obviously got Chambers that can play right back, or Konza at a push maybe if something happens to Young and cashes him back. In the midfield, you've maybe got Chambers and go into defensive midfield. That's your option at the moment, isn't it?
It's covering 3 positions at the minute. He might as well go in goal.
I mean, that's the benefit of having a utility player, isn't it?
Sometimes. Yeah, definitely.
And also, you've got McGinn could drop back, and then you could bring in a Traoré into that position, or maybe even a Duran. So there are options. They're not massively preferred options.
Duran hasn't been used at all, has he? That's the only, there must be something that's making him think I can't use him.
Yeah, I know. I don't know what it is. Is it the fact he's a bit of a maverick and he wants it to be a bit more solid? But you wouldn't say Traoré is that more solid. I didn't think Traoré was great last night when he came on. I thought he wasn't. Yeah, the one thing
he did okay. But
yeah, the one thing I'll say, and get ready for this, Richard. You might want to clip this next bit of this for Twitter. Is Leon Bailey is better at tracking back than Traoré? So you actually notice.
Mate, I said that right immediately from the start. I said that. As I've said before, Traoré is someone you bring on because you don't quite know what he's going to do. He can win you the game, like he did against Leicester. He did against Forest. That is his thing. But he's not going to track back. That's just not what he's about. Or he'll attempt to, but almost in attempting to, it kind of makes it worse because you either do the job properly or you don't do it. So yeah, that's what we're going to get with him. But that's why I think he's a perfect player to have, because he's won us 6 points this season, with 2 goals. So look, if he does that again, if he comes on against United and bags the winner, we'll absolutely be, we'll be jumping for joy. So that's what you get. But with Bailey, you're going to get that bit more discipline, but you're not going to get that off the cuff attacking threat, and that's where we're. But we are lacking bodies, and that's the key. I hope that. I don't think they're going to anyone's going to be ready for United on Sunday, because that would have been indicated in the press conference that they're back in full training or whatever. But I hope to God they're back for the last 4 games, because then it's only there's no midweeks, is there, as you pointed out in the Fulham preview.
Well, we've got 10 days till we play Wolves on Saturday the 6th, right? So if it is that we're running on fumes, have we got just enough fuel to get past, admittedly, not an easy game away at Old Trafford, but it's not what it used to be, is it? It's not what it used to be. They had an absolute pasting recently by Liverpool. We beat them quite comfortably in Emery's first game. They've had a very bad defeat away at Seville. They played a Brighton team, which they probably should have lost that game on chances, got to extra time and penalties, and they've got a trip against Spurs on Thursday. And even though Spurs are recently absolutely abject, they've got rid of the assistant manager of Conte, who Conte took over as an interim. They've got Ryan Mason, and you expect a little bit of a response, but that's Thursday night.
I know, and they've got a few players out as well themselves.
So can we just about get over the line, put a performance in? A few of the players looked a bit jaded, a bit more time for a Watkins maybe to rest. He was not quite on it last night. A chance to just sort of get a little bit more out of him. And then maybe for the next game, a week later, you've got a few more players back in so you can do a bit of rotation.
Yeah, yeah. Back to the positives and a very, very quick word on arguably your man of the match, mate, Mr. Luiz, who, fast becoming a lot of Villa fans' favourite player, just absolutely controlling midfield and just dictating play at the minute.
Yeah, and I just felt like he looked like he had energy as well. I mean, he kept going. It was a great little dart, wasn't it, towards the end? Right towards the end of the game when McGinn nearly scored, and he was just still showing for it. I just think he looks really comfortable and assured now, and it gives a sense of calmness. And that Kamara role, obviously, Kamara was doing that. They were doing it in tandem for a period of time, obviously, when they were like a couple of Rolls Royces. But I just think he's looking really, really comfortable in that position right now. And you can see the confidence oozing as well, stepping forward a bit more, trusts himself, the way he kind of manipulates the ball between his feet. And I just think, it's rare he misplaces a pass, Luiz.
No,
He used to do it a lot more.
Mate, he's impressing so many Villa fans. Is not that he needed to change people's minds for him, personally, I don't know it's that bothered, but he's becoming a real Villa sort of stalwart. Almost like, I don't know, I think Stilian Petrov had to convince quite a few Villa fans when he first came in, and maybe a similar thing to Luiz, but he's just a proper midfielder now, like putting his foot in, scoring goals, box to box, like you say, passes a quality. Just a great all-round midfielder as it stands. So look, long may it continue for good old Dougie. And finally, we've got to shout out this guy, Mr. Unai Emery. I mean, you've touched on some of the records he's broken already this season. I mean, how lucky are we to have this guy as our manager?
Give him the keys to Aston, if not the country. It's just great, isn't it? He's passionate. We've obviously had previous managers. We used to get a bit annoyed about the perceived lack of passion. He's knowledgeable. He's got a plan. He's got a system. We're getting different types of wins. He's just great. And again, I'm just delighted that he's with us. But it gives you a great sense of like the quality of manager he is. It must have been a great sell from the owners to convince him to come, because he wouldn't be coming to any team, would he? With that track record.
Turn Newcastle down.
Yeah, which has worked out well for them, of course.
Yeah.
He's brilliant, and we don't want to be too negative about previous incumbents of the role. But there was I did see a tweet going around about a quote from our previous manager saying, when we're in bad form, the players here have got to help me out for the next 8 games, and if not, we'll get players that will help me fix it. Basically throwing the players a little bit under the bus. The players have to take responsibility, of course, on the pitch, but it just goes to show you what with the same players can be done with belief, with coaching, with proper quality management, with detail. The detail is incredible. And he's someone now. And I did see something going around. It was a BBC Sport tweet about Villa. And in the comment from BBC Sport was, should Spurs and Chelsea be looking at Unai Emery? What the hell?
I know.
Spurs?
So London-centric, isn't it?
So bad, isn't it? So bad. I'd like to see, if you've got, should Villa be looking at Pep Guardiola, then maybe I might be interested. But it's just brilliant. And what the job he's done, even if we lose the next 5 games, he's just had an incredible season.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't see that happening, but yeah, absolutely. And I think the key part of it is as a coach, I think a lot of the initial interviews were so revealing, because he said he watched every game that we'd played, including games last season as well. So as a coach, as a manager, you go in and you either clear the decks and you bring in your own players and your own people, or you find the best system and the best way of working with the players that you've got. And clearly that's what Emery did, because it's different now. You can't just go and sign loads of players and whatever. And he was coming in mid-season, so he thought, right, what is going to be the best way for me to get the best out of these players? How do I get the best out of them? And we've been saying for years, I'm not saying that we're anywhere of the tactical know-how of Unai Emery, But I don't know how many times in this podcast we said playing the three in midfield with the lack of physicality of our midfielders was just a recipe for disaster, and that was in the previous two managers continued to play that way, and we were just getting ran through and just trampled over anytime we played against anyone with any sense of physicality in their midfield. And he's seen it and gone, I need to pack that midfield. I need to play a box four, and I almost need to have another midfielder that can step in, or a fullback that can attack, to make those extra players in midfield. Because when we do lose it, we're getting players around the ball and we can win it back, and then we can try and break quickly. And that's exactly what he's done. Like, it's not. Some of the pundits I agree with. It's not rocket science. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just looking at the players that we've got and utilizing them in the best, most effective way. What happens then is they become more confident on the ball. And what he's really done so well is he's created set patterns and set ways of playing that will create chances for us. And that's what we see as a fan watching. And that's where, when it goes into Watkins and he lays it off first time and they play first time out to Moreno, and we love it. But that's all rehearsed, that's all practice, that's all set up on the training pitch, and that's what's so good.
And no one's going to want to play Villa. No one is. Villa don't lose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, look, mate, let's call it a day there. Amazing result. Like I say, hard-working performance takes us to 5th in the table. Make sure you guys please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, comment on anything that you think about the performance, about going into the next game, what Unai Emery's done for this club, where you think we're going to finish. Get your comments in. Thank you so much for watching. It is amazing time to be a Villa fan at the moment. As always, remember, we all follow the Villa. Thanks, everyone.
Absolute pleasure.